In this video, we're going to learn about personally identifiable information, or PII for short. This is a quick and simple video with some examples of what PII is and how it can affect you and your friends and your family and anyone else that you know. So what is PII? PII is information that can recognize the identity of someone directly or indirectly. Okay. So, we know what PII is. Now let's give some examples. So let's go to direct PII. Alright? So direct PII is you can determine the person directly. Alright? It's a primary source as an example. Alright? So some direct information could be someone's name. Alright? If my name was John Jenkins, that's direct information about me. All right. Something else could be a fingerprint. Doesn't matter what finger it is, a fingerprint would be direct. Why? Because it can directly, see what I'm saying there? Identify someone. That's a really bad I. And then something else that can directly identify someone is their social security number. All right. Now, not every country has a social security number, but we're just going to go with it. All right. Now let's go to some indirect information. All right. So what do you think indirect information is? It's not going to link you directly to someone's identity. All right. You're going to have to do a little more research. All right. So some indirect information may be a person's phone number. All right. Something else that's indirect is an age. That's a very broad piece of information right there. A lot of people are the same age as someone. Something else could be a race. All right. Someone could look white and be Hispanic. All right. It may be a little harder to identify someone that way. And something else that may be a little surprising is the address of someone. All right. And we're like, what if they live alone? Then you could totally determine who lives where. All right. The address, you can look up the address, but on the internet, there may be information that you can't access of someone's address. You may not be able to find who someone lives. You might have to ask around the address, like, hey, do you know who lives there? And that's kind of creepy. So I don't recommend doing that. But that is indirect information. These are considered separate sources. I'm actually not going to write that down. They are separate sources that you have, all right? So let's put up a phone number. So we're going to do 318, which is an area code, all right? An area code is the first 3 digits of a number, and you may not always have one when you type a number in, but they can link to a certain area of a country, a state, or a county, parish, wherever you live, all right? So 318 is an area code of Louisiana. So we're going to do 318-712-1113. I don't know whose number that is. Please do not call that. I might get in trouble. I might not, but please do not call it for the sake of whoever owns his phone number. All right? You may call the person. You may hear someone pick up. All right? Maybe like, okay, what's your name? They could tell you your name. Don't know if you're lying, though. But be careful when you call someone's number. If someone calls you and they pick up, hey, what's your name? You shouldn't give them that information if you don't know them. All right? Now, if you had a phone book of 318, you could possibly find who owns this phone number. However, it is still indirect information because it's a separate source. It's not the direct information of someone's identity, right? Let's take an address. We'll do 123 Brown. Excuse my handwriting, please. We'll do Brown Court. Right? Multiple people could live at an address. So even if there is one person, it's separate sources, which makes it an indirect information. Now, you're probably tired of me saying a separate source. Can you give a little more background or information here? Okay? An address could link to someone's information. However, since it could change, all right, then it's not going to be direct. A social security number will not change unless you're like in the witness protection program. Or a fingerprint will not change. A name, unless you get it legally changed, which is a very long process. That'll not change. An address can change pretty easily. A phone number can change easily. Your age changes every year. And your race, well, let's just say there's a lot of people with the same race. All right? Now, there are laws that can protect people's information. In the U.S., you probably have heard of the COPPA law. All right? This was established in the late 90s. And this protects the information of kids under the age of 13. All right? There was a big YouTube feud about this law when YouTube got sued for violating it. All right? There's also, I think it's the HIPAA, it might be the HIPAA. I'm not good with letters. But this protects medical information. All right? And then in the UK, not just the UK, but in Europe, they have their own version of the COPPA law. And I'm just going to put GDPR. Alright, and that's going to be for kids as well. Now, something else to note. Just because something is personally identifiable information, yet not yet, doesn't mean it will be in the future. You kind of see I could use yet there. Take an IP address for an example. An IP address may be changed in the future to identify people. Since computers are growing in the society now, IP addresses may be able to identify people in the future, right? Now, it could be difficult to identify if something is PII. Let's take IP addresses again for example, all right? IP addresses right now are used to identify a device. However, you can use it as information to track where someone is. That will make it indirect, all right? However, that is still an argument. Some people say, well, it still could be not PII, but then the people say it could be PII because you could track the geographical location. However, your location can change instantly, all right? So this video was going over personally identifiable information, all right? Oh, and something else to know is, like when I said earlier, something could be PII in the future, but not now. Look at social media. If you post something about a restaurant at a certain time, someone could look at that and determine where you live. All right? You need to be careful on what you post on the internet. You probably heard that from your parents, your grandparents, your friends, all that, your teachers. It gets annoying, but it's true. There are people out there that could use your information for bad things. Someone could take your social security number and steal your identity, which is something you do not want. All right? Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something new in this video.